Right, we're at our very last part of an absolutely packed day. I hope you'll agree. So I'm now going to welcome Alison Hutchinson to the stage, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Pennies Foundation, which she founded in 2009. The Pennies Foundation is a UK fintech award-winning charity that's the leader in micro donations. I can never say micro donations. It messes my mouth. So when you go into a shops, they work with over 200 brands. When you go into the shop and you pay and it says, would you like to give a little bit of money to charity? It's probably Pennies that are behind that. And as of November last year, they had raised £75 million for charity. Because of her work with the economy and the charity sector, she was awarded a CBE. She is also an independent non-executive director at DFS PLC and Foresight Group Holdings, and she's a board advisor at Markaz. So to tell us about the Pennies journey, please welcome Alison to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. I was going to say a huge thank you for inviting me here today, John, but to follow that, John, and then to be before you're all going to have a drink, I'm not so sure this is a good one. No, genuinely. Always be fine in the night. Literally a huge pleasure to be here today, and I'm not sure I can live up to that billing, but thank you very much for the background. But what I'd like to talk to you about today is this little thing. You probably can't see it, but it's a penny. And the only illusion I've got is how that can add up to make massive social impact, which is actually a reality, not an illusion. But how many of you would bend down and pick this up off the street if you saw it? Show of hands. That's because nobody cares about pennies unless you're Scottish. So how many of you are Scottish? But the reason I want to talk about this little penny is because the vast majority of people do not bend down and pick up a penny anymore, because there's nowhere to put it and it just fills your pocket and you actually don't think it's worth any value. And that's why we set about this mission to take these useless, no-value little coins and put them as a force for good. So let me just share a video of what we've been up to for the last 15 years, and then I'll talk a little bit more about who we are, what we do, how we do it, why NashTech have become a really important partner of ours, and I'll make sure there's some time to answer some questions at the end, even if they're not quite as exciting as the illusion. Sound coming? I've done it. Oh, it's there now. Thank you.
15 years ago, we started with a simple idea.
It's a new technology solution for the old habit of dropping change in a charity box.
Its digital charity box is simple, offered every time we pay by card.
What an amazing idea, and this really catches on.
In 2010, the very first micro donation was made with pennies. From day one, the potential was clear. These donations were adding up to something extraordinary, a micro donation movement. From pizzas to pubs, hotels to high streets, pharmacies to supermarkets, the power of pennies has grown. Our partners have helped make giving a part of the everyday, and their customers have responded with incredible generosity. Every 0.5 seconds, someone chooses to make a donation with pennies, and each donation adds up to real difference for charities at the heart of our communities. Charities that provide vital care, services and support across the UK, Ireland and beyond.
Pennies is proof that microgiving works.
Pennies donations have helped us to do more, reach further and support those that need us most.
We are incredibly grateful for your kind donations and support.
This really is transformative impact. It changes lives.
Together, we've built something remarkable, a movement for good. Hundreds of merchants and technology partners, ambassadors, champions, funders and supporters, millions of customers donating each month, supporting charities when they need it most. Because of you, Pennies has powered 300 million micro-donations, raising £75 million for 1,100 charities. 15 years on from that first donation, let's celebrate, let's be inspired, and let's look ahead to the next 15 years. Thank you for believing in micro-donations and for making every penny count.
So that's what we've been up to for the last 15 years, is trying to create a movement. And for any one of you that might have taken that opportunity to click and donate, or for those of you that might have been involved in one of the many partners, thank you. Because the one thing about Pennies is we can do nothing alone. We've genuinely created an ecosystem of partners that I'll talk about a little bit today, who together share that common purpose. That common purpose is if all of us that are banked in the UK gave equivalent of a chocolate truffle once a week, that's £1 billion worth of new money for the UK charity sector. That's the value of the pennies we don't want to bend down and pick up off the street. But we need to do it not as a village, not as a city, but as all of us together working with that common purpose. And we as Pennies, we're a charity. We're not here to do it for money. We do it absolutely as a charitable endeavour. In the early days, we made two big decisions. One was to be a charity, because we didn't want to make any money, which was a really hard decision, because we could have got investment to drive Pennies forward, but trying to get philanthropic donations for an infrastructure charity, creating a name like microdonations that does meddle with your mouth, that didn't exist 15 years ago, was quite a hard belief, but we didn't want to make money out of it. The second belief we had is we really believed that wherever anyone shopped and paid for something, we need to be able to give them an option to donate. So we had to be independent of channel, independent of technology, independent of charity, independent. And those two things made it much harder in the early days. But when I look back now, you've really got to have the conviction of some of those early decisions that really do step you up if you're really trying to go and make a big difference. And so for us, we really feel we're part of this digital fintech world where we're growing every day and we're working with so many people every single day. But why is it really important? Well, the charity sector, I'm sure everyone can relate to, because everyone will have been touched by a charity or supported by a charity or know a loved one that's needed the help of a charity. But they're not immune to what's going on in the sector right now. Right now, the charity sector is seeing significant increase in demand. In many ways, it's 3 times as high as it was just 5 years ago. And yet, with that increased demand, they don't have the resources they had. 2/3 of charities have seen their financial reserves go down. 50% of small charities said they don't believe they're going to survive because they're absolutely eating into the reserves. And the way they're giving is just not coming through. Pennies Foundation is a charity in the UK that's been around for a long time. And in 2016, they started doing some research into how much people give, time, money, activities. In 2024, what they discovered was it was the lowest level of giving ever since they started that in 2016. Why? People cannot afford to give. They want to give, but they're quite scared to give. We're all worried about cash. We're all worried about every single penny. And therefore, when you look at how people want to give, what came loud and clear was that giving little and often was a fundamental thing consumers want to do. That's why, do you know what? Even today, well, September last year, today, give me a little bit of a nudge there, but even in September last year, the most preferred way of giving is still dropping coins in a charity box. Why? It's easy, it makes you feel good, and it's really affordable. And it just puts that little, yeah, into your step. And what we've done as Pennies is try and do that, but in this digital world, in this cashless world. And I'm delighted to report that what we all together have done is mean that microdonations is now the 3rd most preferred way to give in the UK. And there's so much more we need to do because we're really just at the foothills of what we want to do. But the other thing that's really important is without retailers, Pennies couldn't exist because Pennies is all about B2C. And so why do retailers get involved in Pennies? And I'll talk a little bit about this more in a second, but mainly because their customers are asking them to. The research last year is the figures you see up there. 90% of consumers want retailers to give them the choice whether to give or not. Nearly half of them say, I'll think much better, And about 23-24% are saying, actually, I'm going to be more loyal to that brand. So doing the right thing is not just about shoving a charity and giving some money, it's linking it to their purpose and what they're trying to achieve. And it's through that we've managed to attract over 200 brands now to the Pennies family. And we do think we're a family, because we're a family on a mission, working together to a common goal. Unlike magicians, we are competitive, but when it comes to Pennies, it is about a true collaboration. And I really mean that. I've been privileged to attract about 60 chief executives across retail, hospitality, paytech, fintech on our advisory boards. And they put their competitive job outside the door. And when they come in that door, it's how do they help Pennies? How do they help us, a little team of 22 people, try and grow and deliver more to help more people in communities, which is the goal we want. But one of the reasons they do it is because they care about the charities they care about. So our retailers nominate the charities that their customers and their colleagues want to get behind. So I thought I might share a video of Domino's and their charity, Teenage Cancer Trust, and the real importance it meant to Evie.
Hello everyone, this is GK, looking rather barefaced. 48 hours ago, I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, which is a cancer of the bone marrow. The next 6 months are going to be the hardest of my life, but, you know, I can do it. I can do it.
When you're young, you know, people say you've got your whole life ahead of you, but I don't think you actually consider that you might not. You start panicking that, you know, you've not got any time left. It was absolutely my saving grace that Teenage Cancer Trust were so present in my cancer journey. On the worst day of my life, I was made to somehow feel at home.
Teenage Cancer Trust are the only charity in the UK that are there to support young people with cancer aged 13 to 24. Thanks to the support of our partner Domino's and their incredible customers who donate to us at checkout, we can continue to support over 7,000 young people with cancer every year. It might only feel like a really small amount, but actually those micro donations have already raised for us just under £7 million. So those small donations really do make a huge difference.
It means a huge amount for me to work for a company that supports Pennies and supports our chosen charities in this way. It makes me feel like it's a company that means so much more than, you know, selling pizza and doing the right thing commercially. It's a company that wants to give back to these people who really make the lives of those teenagers and their families just that little bit better.
We'd like to say a huge thank you to our partner Domino's and their incredible customers who are helping us to ensure that no young person faces cancer alone.
Your support means that Teenage Cancer Trust can continue to help young people like myself through a really difficult journey. They're a very, very, very special charity and I'm so grateful to them.
So that's 10 minutes. 10 minutes of microdonations is an hour of care for someone like Grace. At the Co-op Central, where they've rolled out Pennies, just 7 minutes, their customers fund the cost of a Samaritan call that could really save a life. 30 minutes at Superdrug. That funds 9 hours of a Marie Curie cancer nurse. And when you're at that point in time where one of your real loved ones is really in a poorly state and you just need respite to be able to support them in the way that you want to, you do need a good night's sleep, but you need to know they're being looked after. And every 30 minutes, their Pennies helps another family. And that's why that little penny is so critically important. Now, the way Pennies works is actually very simple. And it's simple because we've solved the complexities by working with about 70 different partners to make that a reality. We build the Pennies capability into the technology. So it always starts with the technology partners, whether that be kiosks, app, in-store, online. We've got to keep evolving to where we need to take Pennies so that we can make sure it's always relevant and always there. And importantly, from a customer point of view, it's got to be the same journey. They shouldn't be deciding the amount. They shouldn't be deciding which charity it goes to. The same way you used to drop the coins in the charity box, the customer just needs to click or tap. They see the charity, they see the amount, and they choose to opt in, or if they do nothing, it disappears. And what's really important for customers is that they know that it's anonymised, because one of the things the charity sector has not done well for itself, and has actually got a bit worse most recently, is they keep hassling us all for more and more money. Why? Well, you can see why, because they really desperately need the funds. They're not doing it for a bad reason. But as human beings, there's only so much we can give, and therefore, making sure that when you click, you know that that's anonymised, and you always get a thank you in the receipt. And hopefully you hear those stories that I was sharing about how those pennies have added up to make a big difference. So we work with the technology partners. We then have to influence retailers to put this, what used to be friction, time at till, we can't make that happen. Well, we've been very lucky to have amazing partners that joined us, and most of the partners that joined us are still with us 15 years later, which I hope gives a good example of the value we bring for and with those retail partners. And they all talk to each other. So we don't have a marketing machine. I don't have any marketing budget. Everything we do is through word of mouth and through our community. And that's the way we're able to attract more partners. And then, of course, what we do as Pennies is we then make sure that once those consumers have decided to donate, we track every single donation. So I don't know that it was John that gave a donation, but I might know at 3:05 in that Domino's, you've actually given a donation, and I track that all the way through into our back office system that I'll come back to in a minute, and then we need to grant it out accurately to every single charity, because we're really a fundraiser grant maker, and we developed an engine that we call PODS, Pennies' own database, that drives that and drives that accuracy. And bear in mind, you can have a retailer that's got a different charity for every shop, or that campaigns at different times. So I need to know the minute it's changed from being that charity to this charity in order to make sure we put your money to where you have rightly said you want to click and donate. So that's how the Pennies system works. We're across all channels and keep going into new channels. And the pace of technology and AI, again, how's AI going to impact us? We're already looking at agentic AI. Where does that decision point? Where do we need to fit that Pennies option so you still have that choice? We have to keep innovating and helping ourselves grow forward. But I think from our point of view, we've moved on from the video and we've moved on from November, but we're now at 311 million consumer donations. We've helped 128 charities as of this last grant month, and we've raised over £76 million. And as I said, we're really only at the foothills. From our point of view, last year, there was only 0.17% of all digital transactions had a donation. So we really, really haven't started in our journey yet, and we're very conscious that we need as much help and support as we possibly can to make that a reality. But just to give you a feel for how quickly these pennies add up, I've got a little quiz for you. So if you took all the pennies that we raised in 2025 and you laid them side by side, how many times would you have to go from Land's End to John O'Groats? Any guesses? 10? 20, 23 is getting much better. Just slightly higher? 31 times. Very impressive. But that's 31 times for this little coin that we don't value and we don't even pick up. That's the importance of a unit. That's the importance of a coin. And by the way, for reference, that would take you around every B road in the country and 76% of the way around the earth. So that's a lot of pennies that we are giving that we actually don't care about. But that's why pennies are really important. And when we look forward, our vision is to try and attract more people to help us. Make that journey really clear, because we do sometimes have the occasion where we are dependent on the retailers. If that journey's not right, if they haven't put the point of sale out, if the colleague doesn't know about the charity so they cancel it before you get an option, that's not good. And we've got to work through our partners to make sure we get the best-in-class customer example. And when it does work, it works phenomenally well. And so, listen, we were privileged with all of our partners to grow 47% year on year, 25 over 24. And in a marketplace of retail and hospitality where it's pretty tough trading out there, we are very delighted to have that amazing support. And if we just, I say to my board, this is more than just, but if we just continue to grow at 10% every year for the next 15 years, that's £500 million worth of social impact we could have together. And that's what I'm really focused on trying to make a reality. So then I come to the partnership with NashTech and the NashTech project. Well, I think a little bit earlier I talked to you, and by the way, John said, don't talk about NashTech, just talk about Pennies. And that's why they're a partner, because they care, and they care about the outcomes. And the problem we had was I talked about Pod's own database, that manages all the tracking of all these donations in, and then how we actually get them to the right charity. That's an engine we built ourselves. It works. It does everything it needs to do. But when I'm trying to get reporting out to 200 partners, there's a manual crank on the side here. When I've actually got the key person that knows how to run the system daring to take a holiday, we hope and pray it's all where it should be. You know, we've got key person risk. We can't scale it the way we want to scale. We can't take advantage of AI and all the technology platforms, and so we were stuck. And then Jim Dolan, who's in the room with us today, who's been a long-standing friend of Pennies, we called and said, Jim, help, please help. And he did, and he's been absolutely superb. And the one thing that we learned from Jim was invest the time to get to the starting line. It's too easy to think you know what the problem is that you're trying to solve and rush into getting a technology partner to help you solve it. And so, you know, NashTech were known to Jim, and NashTech kindly invested time and resource to help us get to the starting line, to help us look at the options of what's the platform, because as a charity, we can't keep affording to invest significantly in what we do. And so we moved on to the AWS platform. The project's gone brilliantly. Genuinely, I think if we had one bug to fix, it might have been one or two, Jim. It was literally a handful. The teams have worked together like one team, and it feels like they've bought into what we are trying to do, which is make society a better place. So they care as much as we care about how important it is to get this right, and have stood by us through thick and thin. So genuinely, when I see partnership, I normally see it as a word, and what NashTech are doing with us is putting it into reality. So John, on behalf of you and the whole team, thank you very much. Please give them a round of applause. It's only through that we can grow. So if you talk about having a vital organ, that's what we're working with at the moment, the heart at the centre. Questions? Does anyone have any questions for me before I round off? Thank you.
I've got a big voice, so I can probably manage without the microphone. Are you unique in the sector, or every time we see this, is it pennies? That's the first half, and the other half is what's the average donation? Because sometimes it's just round up to the next pound.
It is. Thank you. Two good questions. So we are, if you see it, it's typically Pennies. And there's no competitor to Pennies that does what we do as a charity across all channels. What we do have is a few brands that have decided they'll do it themselves. So we've had a few brands that have said, you know what, I'm happy to invest $500,000 or $1 million. I'll change all my IT and I'll do it myself, which is disappointing when the journey's poor, because that has a negative impact on why people want to give. And I'm not going to name names, but it's even more disappointing when they invite us in, we help get them right, and then they just carry on and don't support us, who's a charity trying to make this happen. I'm not doing it for money. We're doing it to make sure that every charity can benefit. When we first started Pennies, when we didn't really know what we're doing, one of the thoughts was, do we get a subset of charities together and say, look, let's support those charities first, and then we'll go on to opening it up to others? And straight away it was clear, retailers need to nominate the charities they care about. That's why they do it, because their colleagues and customers care, hence another independent. And there was 4 charities that took all the assets that I'd built and tried to do it themselves. Sadly, they didn't succeed, because for me, I'm here to drive impact in society. I'm not here to own a space. But they wasted about £2.5 million that could have helped some of these lives you've just heard about there. So there isn't a competitor, but people could do it themselves. But when I was with Holland and Barrett and Anthony just last week, he said, why would you? Because the little money you give to Pennies, we are doubling our donations. So rather than raising $500,000, we've helped raise $1 million, and the whole world's a better place. So that leverage of being able to double the donations is helpful. But that's where we are. In terms of the average donation, the answer is 25, but the route you get there is very strange, because actually a retailer can choose what the donation option is. It can be round up to the nearest pound. It can be a top-up of 10p or 20p. It can be a top-up of £1 for a very, very large basket. I was very anti that. But when you're buying sofas for £5,000, £1 doesn't seem to feel very much. So I guess that is a little bit of a roundup. And we're not always on sale, John. But sorry, just saying, with my other hat on. But however we look at it, it seems to come out at 25p. But we found some customers, because one of the things I obsess with, and it is an obsession of mine, so it's probably me, but I'm like, let's get the journey right, and let's get more people engaged. Let's not maximize fundraising, because I think that will come if you get the journey right, you get the story right, have a little bit of a lower donation, and just let more people join in, because that's the glory of more people feeling good, and then hopefully more goodness in community. Sorry, probably a long answer to your question. Thank you. Any other questions?
Great presentation and great what you've done.
Thank you.
I have been in some stores where they've taken the choice away from me just by voiding which now I won't let that happen. I apologise, I have let it happen, but how often does that happen?
Too often. Too often is the answer to that question. And thank you. If I have one ask, please all be, if you don't want to give, fine, but please just say to them, can I have a choice, please? It's my choice. It's not your choice. It probably happens about, I'm going to say on average across the piece, it could happen up to 25% of the time. For some partners, like Cotswolds Outdoor, they have 50% of their consumers donating and they never have a colleague that takes the option away that I've ever heard of. If you're in a petrol forecourt, it's probably their third language is English. They probably haven't done their induction plan. They've just come in and out. A customer's asked them. They haven't known and they've cancelled it, and you get it cancelled all the time. So it is all about the customer journey. And so Pennies obsesses with best practice, sharing material. And it was great. We launched with B&Q last year, and they were phenomenal. And they did all of our best practice of, look, here's what great looks like. Get the video with management involved. Make sure you have it in the induction. Make it fun. Give feedback to your colleagues. Send a Pennies badge to your top performing stores. And don't make it a target. Just make it feel good. Give them. They raised £1 million in 5 months. And actually, the great news is we've got more and more people saying, I'm going to do it better than B&Q. I'm going to do it better in Iceland. I'm going to do it better than Lidl. And Lidl have just announced today that we ran a 6-week campaign for them, and they've raised about £500,000 for NSPCC, and it's been phenomenal. So again, part of my challenge is I've got to work through people. I don't have any levers, which is the first time in my career when normally you have levers. You've got cost levers, you've got income levers, you've got talent levers. I do have a bit of the talent lever. But as a little army of 22 people that are supporting all these partners, we absolutely rely on the support of all of our partnerships, and therefore, you know, one of the things that I'm really proud of, a bit of internal bits when you start things, is during COVID, where we could have gone bust because we were also the people where 80% of our doors shut for 5 months. And actually, we were just early days in digital. And actually, our digital partners completely outperformed. We all ordered Domino's and Papa John's and Screwfix to get our houses fitted, and we were absolutely fine. But I actually asked my team to say, look, can you redefine our values? Because the ones I set way back, they were okay, but it was kind of, and they spent a long time as a team defining our values, and they say we care to our core, we inspire people to take action, we make things happen, and then we'll change if there's a better idea. And that, for me, is what we try and live up to as Pennies. Any other questions? Thank you.
Do you only distribute to charities that are chosen by retailers, or do you have sort of others that you can choose yourself as a beneficiary?
We've made the decision not to choose ourselves, but to let the retailers have the choice. And the way our business model works, if I can put it that way, is 100% goes to charity. At the moment, 90% we grant out to their nominated charity, 10% comes to us. We do all the due diligence on the charity, so we will go back to a retailer and say, I'm really sorry, but they haven't filed their accounts, the trustees are being investigated, or whatever we might find through that due diligence. We can't support that charity, so we'll reject charities, and we have done. And we also recheck, we've got an automated integration with the Charities Commission website, so before we grant out any money, we double check they've not changed. There's a few charities that changed from being a charity to a kick, community. That's actually still got for profit in there, and that's not okay. So we have all the due diligence, but the whole is that the retailer should choose. And then once we get self-sufficient as a charity, our 10 will become 9, become 8, become 7, become 6, because we want this to be the most efficient way of creating a legacy of feel-good giving. I think time for just one more question, I think. Thank you. Maybe two. I'll answer them short.
Who or what is your biggest obstacle?
Technology.
Really?
Yes,
Politics,
because
regulation.
It's technology, because we've got to make it really simple so it's not in that backlog of things to do that just doesn't get up the pile. Because I don't go in and say I can do anything commercially for your bottom line. Now, actually, we can prove that now, because we can prove colleagues are more engaged, customers are we can and we do have, but that's not why we get an organisation to do it. We do it because it's the right thing to do. And so if that technology is not easy, then it just doesn't hit the stack. And so what we do is things like a volunteering hackathon, where a lot of IT people don't have the time to go and do a volunteering day. They'd love to, but they don't, because the stack's that big. Whereas you say, use your volunteering days and get pennies up the list, and they're motivated, they're making a difference, and suddenly everyone's really happy. So there's lots of little things we do, but making the tech simple so it doesn't become too big an issue is probably our biggest challenge. Quick question, and then I'll finish.
This is not purposely a loaded question, but I know personally, my bank allows me to save the change, roll up, do those transactions. I just wondered if you know how much that's impacted consumer behaviour, and particularly people thinking, I'd rather keep the money than donate it, really.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. You can do that. We deliberately decided not to do that, because that becomes replacement giving. Because when you're giving little and often, or rounding up and putting it into a pot that you can then use for savings or investment or charitable giving, that's the money you use. Whereas actually, when we're all together in B&Q, that's hundreds of thousands of pounds that are being created. So that's why we deliberately didn't go down that route, because that route's actually reducing the pie that's going to charity, not increasing it. From our point of view, we're a bit naughty. I don't mean that to be a little bit naughty. That's a song, isn't it? I'm probably very naughty. What we try and do is, because we are in first at the retailers, they can still choose to round up to support the retailer's charity. Then it's a round pound and they don't round anything to their pot. So maybe a bit naughty, but that's the way we are. Listen, I know we're short for time. I was going to show another video, but hopefully you've got a little feel for why I love these little pennies. And my only ask is to say, first of all, thank you again to John, NashTech and the team. They've been phenomenal. And genuinely, without that new heart transplant, I couldn't go anywhere near the growth that we need to go. So it's been absolutely phenomenal. And my ask of all of you is, any thoughts, any ideas, I invite you to join us. Join us in this champion of really trying to create a legacy of feel-good giving. If you see it again, even if you don't want to give, please say, I should have the choice. If you do want to give, that's amazing, thank you. If you think you've got technology or ideas that can help us, give us a call. We make it easy and affordable for you to volunteer your time too. And together, we can turn this little thing that doesn't add any value to creating real social impact that we can all benefit from. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Wow, incredibly inspiring and energizing end to a packed day. I think you will agree. Look, we've had tons today. I hope you've all really enjoyed it, and I hope you've taken insights, you've shared ideas with each other, you've made new friends and connections. Really hope all that's happened. We've had tons. We've had the results of the new survey. We've had that explored in a panel discussion. We've had Benedict talking about platform shifts throughout time. We've had our deep dive sessions in AI maximalism and training and ethics and delivery excellence. And then we've had what I would like to call our magical sessions this afternoon, because they really have been superb. You will have the report in your inbox. You'll also get emails about Content Hub, which has got lots of information that will be rolled out, all the stuff from today, so that you can apply that and listen to it again and look at it and apply that in your business. I know that John would like to say something.
I would, yes.
Yes.
I haven't got my mic on.
Hasn't got a mic, but he's going to shout.
So thank you all so much for coming once again. And Alison, thank you so much as well. That was brilliant. So really appreciate that. And John, of course, which was great. But I did mention Victoria earlier, during the day, and actually I think she's blown the doors off. So I'd like to give a big round of applause to Victoria and Martin.
Woo! I do have, sorry, my fault.
Victoria, our marketing director, who's responsible.
Woo! Yeah, no problem at all.
Let's go have a beer.
Yay!